Welcome to Confirmation Bias, presented by the League Ambassadors.
I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and the 2017 Wimbledon Tournament is as wide open as the Clippers' point guard spot and whoever is being guarded by James Harden. And that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Ambassador Junior Blue, and I couldn't care less about tennis until Serena get back on the court, and that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Ambassador Dad, and the last time a U.S. male won a Grand Slam, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King was the #1 movie. In the Club by 50 Cent was the #1 song. Gas was $1.60 a gallon, and Barack Hussein Obama announced his candidacy to become a U.S. Senator. This was 2003, and that's why it's not a big sport anymore in the U.S., and that's my confirmation bias.
Wow. First off, happy birthday to Queen Mo and Coach Joe. I'm Ambassador Chef Curry. And if Serena Williams were white, that's my confirmation bias.
Welcome to Confirmation Bias, hosted by the League Ambassadors. Kevin, I can't wait till you complete that sentence, buddy. As a reminder, you can follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Also, please visit our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors, and our website, www.theleagueam.com. Check out our page, our on-site blog, Diplomatic Immunity. It's a place where sports fans can air out any grievances. They can speak their piece. On today's show, we are going to conclude our series on the sport of tennis. We're going to talk about the hottest topics going on and have a little bit of a discussion around what it would take for us to watch tennis more frequently, and then also just sort of look at the state of American tennis, particularly amongst the men. But first off, first hot topic, upcoming on Monday, I believe, is probably the most prestigious tennis major, and that is Wimbledon.
Cheers,
and
mate.
Last year's Wimbledon winner was Andy Murray. He defeated Milos Raonic, I believe. He's a Canadian, is what I know.
Close enough.
That's about the last good thing Andy Murray has done, isn't it?
It is about, yeah,
He's
struggled since. He won his second Wimbledon tournament, defeating Milos in straight sets. And then on the female side, Miss Serena Williams beat Angelique Kerber 7-5, 6-3. And since then, she's gone on to win the Australian Open and also start a family. And so,
Just a couple small things.
Right, just a few small things. And so, first of all, looking at the tournament, we've got the top 4 seeds on the men's side being Andy Murray, who's struggling. We've got Stan Wawrinka, who's struggling. We've got Roger Federer, who is looking to be the favorite. And then we've got Rafael Nadal, just coming off of his French Open win, who he's gimpy. So who do we like on the men's side, guys?
Well, I think that you said a couple episodes ago when we had this as a black and blue segment that, and I hate to say that you're right, but I think Federer, for the simple fact that he took the French Open off.
Right.
Like you said, Joker's actually out of form right now. He just recently
Way out of
I'm
form.
about to say,
he got into a ATP top 250 event,
Right.
just to get his swag back.
Just to get it, and he barely made the barely made the semifinals today. Actually.
Yeah, Nadal is hurt.
Yep.
And this is not clay.
Right.
This is grass.
Right.
So
I think his exact words were, "I'm not in form to perform
right
the way I need to at Wimbledon."
So I think the floodgates open up for Federer because, I mean, let's be honest, he's won 7 Wimbledon titles.
Right.
He is still playing well. He won his last Grand Slam
Mm-hmm.
that he played in, and he won his last tournament.
Right.
Now, he did recently lose, I think this might have been before the Hale or Haley tournament. He lost to Tommy Haas.
Right. Of Germany.
Longtime veteran who I didn't even know was still playing. So shout out to Tommy Haas. I remember him on Skinny, you can help me out with this, but whenever you get back in here. But there was a tennis game we used to play in college on the Dreamcast where we used to get trashed and play doubles. That shit was fun. And Tommy Haas, and he was in that. And that was when we were in college, and he's still playing.
He is still
so
playing.
Shout out to him. So I mean, I think he should be the favorite.
Let me ask you something, Les. Do you think, because I see a little bit of a parallel here, and it's why on that same episode that we had talked about, Devin, I proposed that maybe Nadal should just skip Wimbledon and get ready for the hard court season. Do you see maybe a little bit of the sort of the Popovich effect, where some of these players who have been historically great, but they're getting a little long in the tooth, maybe they start to pick and choose the tournaments that they play in, especially if they have the ability, all things being equal, and if they're healthy, to still rise up to an elite level? Maybe this is how you can sort of prolong your career.
That's a good idea, especially for somebody who specializes in hard courts like Nadal.
Mm-hmm.
It will prolong them. It's less wear and tear on your body. You have less of the smaller tournaments in between, and you can really go after just the majors. In this one, I want to say Andy Murray because of hometown can pull them through, but I actually go with the field. I say none of the top 5 is going.
Really?
I say the field because none of them are healthy. Tennis, you can get old real quick, and you're old when you're 30.
Kevin, along those lines, you got a dark horse on the men's side?
I would love to see it because of our constant conversation about parity. But I think the point that you brought up, if I can go back to that real quick, is definitely smart, especially with somebody like Federer. Like, look, if you know Nadal's going to just own clay until he retires, like, go ahead and have that, bro. But see me in a couple months when we get on grass, and Wimbledon has always been his thing. But I agree with Les. I would love to see Federer and Nadal go head-to-head. But if they're not healthy, it's always a good story to see Andy Murray be that 3rd or maybe the 4th guy, depending on where Joker is, to kind of hold down the fort, too.
I just can't see Andy Murray getting through. I mean, he's struggled this year as the number 1. I'm still surprised that he's still number 1 in the world, and still has the number 1 seeding in Wimbledon.
Right.
He lost in the 4th round of the Aussie Open. He didn't even win a match at Indian Wells.
Right.
So, although he's
home crowd though,
but he is the returning Wimbledon or the defending Wimbledon champ.
Right.
But what have you done for me lately? And with regards to the Nadal thing, like, although he's great on hard court, that rivalry between him and Federer is real.
Mm-hmm.
And to see that, okay, he won in the Australian Open, he set out the one that I won.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to see you in Wimbledon, even though that's your thing. But I mean, the competitor you kind of wants to do. I mean, because he's 3 years younger than Federer.
Right. But his game, his style of play has really grinded on his knees, wear and tear on his knees. I've got a name. Alexander Zverev is a dark horse to watch out for, as well as, and we talked about him before, Dominic Thiem as a contender on the men's side. Moving on to the women's side. And it is open in the men's side. It's wide open.
What'd you say?
Wide open on the women's side. You've got Angelique Kerber, who is the number 1 seed. She's coming off of a first-round loss in the French Open. Mm-hmm. She also
she just lost today.
She just lost today in a warm-up tournament. You've got Johanna Konta, Pliskova that are in good form. Coco Vandeweghe, who is an American. But literally, this can go anyway.
Completely anyway. And going back to Kerber, like, she's the first number 1 overall to lose in the French Open in the Open era, like, in the first round. Like, she hasn't been in good form. And like you said, she lost today. Then you have Kvitova.
Petra Kvitova, who won last year.
Right.
She didn't win last year. She won.
Right. I don't know if... No, I don't think she won.
She won the Arrington, or the
the precursor.
The precursor to this year's tournament. She's in good
Okay.
form right now.
But she pulled out. So
With an oblique injury, I believe it was.
something like that, yeah. What
Do you guys think that this will be good though while Serena's out for just this year, and it'll just be this year because she has all to come back? That it could be a plus for tennis for some unknown, like we talked about with golf, for some unknown to kind of emerge or just dominate this tournament while she's out to like create that.
Well, they've been waiting for
Yeah,
Simona Halep to
Halep,
push through.
That's actually who I had winning this.
But like she hasn't,
I think she's only won 5 grass court matchups in her entire
Right.
career.
But it's fuck or walk for her, and she.
Yep.
Yeah.
She
And I
can't
mean,
fuck.
hopefully that loss in the French Open fuels her.
Well, I'll throw a name out there, and we can also talk because she made news today. But one would think that this could be a situation for Venus Williams, who has won a few Wimbledon tournaments. Her sister's not in it. She did well last year. She's had a really good sort of run here in the last 12 months. But then there was news that came out today. She's low-key a murderer, guys.
She's got that Halle Berry.
She's got the Halle Berry and the Brandy Norwood.
Hey.
Kevin, is that gonna matter? Is that gonna impact her?
I would hope not, but I can't see how you could come into an event like this with this type of news around you, the media asking you these kind of questions, how you could actually focus on playing tennis with this kind of thing around you. I don't know much about the details, but maybe you could explain
She
a
was
little bit
driving
more about
around her estate down in West Palm Beach, and she got into an auto accident, and today was determined that it was her fault. The result of the accident was that the passenger in the car that she hit was a 78-year-old man who died. And so, yeah,
Berry.
it's a vehicular manslaughter. I didn't see anything, haven't heard anything about any charges being pressed against her, but she definitely was found at fault in the accident. So probably a lawsuit is what I imagine is what's going to come.
Probably, and accompany that with her age. I mean, she is the older sister of
Right.
Serena, and granted that they're two superb athletes, but I mean, what is her ranking right now in the world? I mean, she's not even the top 5 seed in this tournament, right?
Yeah, she's a number 10 seed. But again, grass suits both of them well, actually.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and she needs the money at this point because the lawsuit's definitely coming.
I think her sister can maybe ask for some money from the Reddit guy.
For real, huh?
Just a couple chips.
Put Reddit to work.
Yeah, I think she'll be all right with
All right, let's move on to the next hot topic. Staying with the Williams sisters, Serena Williams, John McEnroe. Now, earlier this week, Mr. McEnroe was having a conversation about Serena Williams and saying he would have trouble acknowledging her or classifying her as the greatest tennis player ever because if she played on the men's circuit, she would have trouble beating the 700th ranked tennis player on the men's circuit. And of course, there was, a little bit of an uproar that tennis has a bit of a touch and go history with sexism, feminism. Billie Jean King did a lot for them in terms of getting equal pay. But at the same time, there have been instances where men on the tennis tour, as well as executives within the ATP and the WTA, have also made controversial statements here. The question I want to throw out to you guys, though, is John McEnroe, is he wrong about what he's saying? Number one, first of all, Kevin, I'll go to you.
I would say, yeah, wrong in a sense that you don't have to say that. Like, you can just acknowledge she's a great tennis player. And I think in the context that he was asked, he said she's the best female tennis player. And the person that he was talking to said, why can't she just be the best tennis player? And then he made the comment that you referred to that, well, if she played against the men, she'd be like 700, which I don't even think would be true. But I think we have to acknowledge that, and this happens not just in sports, but anywhere in business or just in life, that when you compare someone's accomplishments to that of, let's be honest, a white man and say, well, because they're not going up against us, they're not as good, you diminish them because of their race, or in this instance, their gender. And I think it's irresponsible. There's nothing Serena has to prove in this world that she hasn't done. And for him to say something like that, it's like, why do you feel the need to diminish her or take away from her accomplishments because she's a woman? I don't get it.
I actually disagree with Kev, and I agree with McEnroe for this, the simple fact that men and women tennis are two completely separate sports. And I think the context of the question was basically, what if she were in the men's side? And it's a valid statement because women only play 3 sets as opposed to 5.
In a major, that's true, but
Right.
in all other tournaments, they play the same amount, 3 sets.
Well, we're basing her greatness off of her major accomplishments and her Grand Slam wins because she has the most, or tied for the most, or does she have the most now?
I think she has the most.
She broke it. So the fact that in those major events that she would have to compete 2 additional sets unless she won straight sets. There's the strength and endurance factor. Just biologically, she's at a disadvantage. So I see where he's coming from in that. Now, he did say he regrets making those statements, but he's not going to walk back what he said because he feels strongly about if she were to play in one of those male tournaments, one of those big Grand Slams, that she would be at a disadvantage. Now, certain players took note of this, and actually the 701 player in the world, he's a Russian. What's his name? Dmitry Turznavov feels that he would beat her because he's stronger. He's a man, and just for the simple fact that he's used to playing at that level with that many sets. Now, he said that right now it's not a discussion because even though I'm not in my tippy top form, she's pregnant. So he made that kind of joke. But then there's other tennis analysts, I believe his name is Tony Jones, who said that there's a bad boy in tennis called Nick Kyrgios.
Kyrgios, yeah.
Yeah, and they said that she could beat him because he's brittle above the shoulders. Her mental strength would will her to victory over him. And then basically Nick Kyrgios went to Twitter and said, now that's funny. Now I think Joker, Federer, and Nadal would have problems with her because they got problems with me. So he took offense to that, but I think he's the bad boy of tennis. He has that sort of say. But I think is not taking away from Serena's accomplishments. And this comes into play all the time. Like when Ronda Rousey was doing her thing, even though that shit's over now.
Right.
They wanted to compare. Oh, she can beat Floyd Mayweather. It's not a conversation at all. And I don't know if it was on the show or after the show. You mentioned something about Layla Ali and
Shane Mosley.
Yeah.
I was watching an interview with those two, and they were talking. They were like, "Hey, look, you outweigh Sugar Shane. Why don't you fight him?" Layla Ali was like, "Not in a million years. He would kill me, even though she outweighed him by like 20 pounds. It's just a difference in man strength." She was like, "It's no comparison. I wouldn't even step in the ring."
So here's the thing, right? Because I hear a bit of a semantics argument. Number one, the first thing that I hear is there's a difference between saying someone is the greatest versus saying someone is the most accomplished, right?
Right.
But the question that I have is not so much about male versus female and who would win in the proverbial match. But are we saying that, or is it fair to say that someone can't be considered the greatest because of their sex?
No, not at all.
Because that's because that's
I don't think
essentially
that's the question.
But
I think it would be that she couldn't beat a top male. So how are you the best tennis player if you can't beat another tennis player?
So then it comes back to that most accomplished versus
I
greatest.
think it's simply, and I'm sorry, Kev, I'll go to you right after I say this. They're 2 different sports.
You just got little brothered, by the way. Keep going.
it's to me, it's just 2 different sports. I'm sorry, Kev.
2 different sports
I believe so.
because of the sets.
Ken, but remember, Serena as the younger sibling is better than Venus. But my point is, and I get what you guys are saying, and I agree, but that's not what he said. He could say, yeah, clearly put up against men, and it's a different story. He says she would be in the 700th ranking. That to me, that's disrespectful.
Overkill.
That was, yeah.
Well, I think
That's
that
disrespectful. And not only that, but he has a history of coming for her. Like for me, like why do you feel like you have to?
To your point, and that's what Billie Jean King, she weighed in on it today, and she said John McEnroe just wants to play Serena Williams, and
Right.
and he's been trying to get a match with her, and that's what this is about. And then if you read into Serena's response, it kind of seemed like that she was kind of hitting at that as well. Like basically, I'm too busy to play
and I'm having a baby
on a circuit, and I'm having a baby.
Good day, sir.
But let me ask you, Kev, do you agree, true or false? You can't say someone is the greatest in a particular sport if if by their sex, if there's no, put it like this, are you saying that there's no way a woman could be the best at a sport if she can't beat a man? To be deemed or classified as the greatest ever if she can't beat a man?
Well, that's what we're asking, if she can't beat a man, but there's also not men playing her. So it's always, again, it's to my original point, it's always us, and I feel weird as the one guy of all of us saying this, but it's like we keep putting our accomplishments as the bar, which to me, again, I don't think is fair because they're never going to play each other. They're never going to, include both men and women in the same racket. So why would we even sit here and have a debate that's not going to ever be proved true? Just acknowledge she's great or say she's one of the greats. But to say she's cool but she not beating us, yes, that's diminishing her accomplishments.
That's McEnroe, though.
That's McEnroe. I agree with
but
you.
That's what we're talking about.
I agree with you on that, Kev. But I hate to hark back on this, but it's two different sports because let's take basketball and we take either whether it's college, women's college or men's college or WNBA or NBA. We can't say that Diana Taurasi is the best basketball player ever. We can say she's the best women's basketball player ever. We can say Michael Jordan is the best male basketball player ever. Now, when you say if they were to play each other, if there's some sort of competition to try to find out who's the best or who has the best career, or even if they play now, do you think Diana Taurasi can beat Michael Jordan?
No.
Right. So,
No.
And it's not to diminish anything from Diana Taurasi. It's just that physically he's 6'6", she's 6 foot. Right? She's at a disadvantage. Ronda Rousey is 5'8", 5'9". Floyd Mayweather's 5'8". She might outweigh him, and that's generous, right?
Yeah, it's real generous.
But if she hits him and then he hits her, who's going to jail?
Floyd's going to jail. So it's interesting. There's some that I will say this, and then we'll move on to our discussion topic. There's something.
20+ minutes.
There's something that feels weird. We always surprise ourselves.
I wasn't surprised.
There's something that always feels. There's something that feels weird in saying that a woman does not have a shot of ever being identified as the greatest in a sport, right, because she can't beat a man.
I think the difference, Kenyon, would if there were ever a co-ed sport that we were always intertwined with, that we could play. I think that would be the telltale. And then you couldn't go to that.
It could be Scrabble. I've seen Monet beat you.
Shout out, babe. Happy birthday.
That's funny. All right, so we have a couple of discussion topics. I'll start with one because it can actually tie into one of our final hot topic, and that is the state of American tennis, particularly on the male side. Serena has been dominating. And, now the fact that she has a family, you can, if you read the tea leaves, you can see that she's starting to transition her way out. She's already most accomplished. There is a star on the horizon, Whitney Osugiwe, 15-year-old. Got it, did it. 15-year-old. She just won the French Open Junior Tennis Tournament. She was the first American to win the French Open Juniors Tournament in 28 years. But you look on that men's side, and I mean,
Kenyon, what was my confirmation? Amaya was 1 year old the last time somebody, and it was Andy Roddick.
I mean, it's right, and he sucked. We've got guys like Jack Sock.
That's what I was going to say. The number one U.S. player who's ranked 8th.
Jack Sock.
Jack Sock. Who the fuck is that?
You've got John Eisner, who is basically Jack Sock's twin.
But he's 32.
He's old as shit.
Yeah.
You've got
42.
Donald Young, who, because he came up at the same time as Venus and Serena, everyone was thinking, oh, well, maybe there's a color code here. No. He sucks. He's a disappointment. I mean,
there are 6 players in the top 50.
And today,
there's 9 in the top 100.
Today is the 25th anniversary of Andre Agassi winning his first Wimbledon title, and there's no one on the horizon, guys.
No, I think. Well, what's the question? We talking about Whitney, or are we talking about?
Well, we covered Whitney. We gave her a shout out. That's all we got to say. She's on the horizon for the women. But
that's it. Okay.
I mean, if you got some jewels to drop, you can drop the jewels. But it's just really, I mean.
Hold on. we talking about a 15-year-old.
Don't drop the jewels on the 15-year-old, Deb. Come on, Deb.
We might be able to come back.
But where's the next American star?
I think it is Whitney. I mean, dude, 2003.
Yeah,
that was the last time, and then That same year, I think it was Agassi's last title, and I forget which Grand Slam he won, but nothing since.
U.S. Open, yeah, nothing since.
No, Roddick won the U.S. Open, I think.
Okay.
But nothing, right?
Yeah.
Nothing's on the horizon, and I think she could be the next star, but it doesn't help male tennis.
No.
In the slice unless Ethan Henderson come along.
I was about to say, if
Shout out to
Red
Ethan Henderson.
Red O was here, he could explain how hard it is to build a tennis player.
So before we
I
get,
think that's part of the reason why it's hard for us to, or at least for me to have a rooting interest. Like I was on the Andy Roddick train, but
Love Kevin.
dude got hurt. He couldn't get over the hump, and then now I just root to watch the two best guys play every time.
Kevin, I love you, man. You're just so in tune. So what would it take for you as we get out of here to watch tennis more frequently? What do you feel like is missing from the game? Is it that you need an American star?
They should let Serena play with the men.
After she gives birth.
After she gives birth. What about you, Dev? What is it missing?
It absolutely is missing a male U.S. star. I grew up actually. We in the hood we couldn't play tennis, but we played badminton, and we had tournaments. And I'm Agassi, I'm Sampras, I'm Michael Chang, and all that. Like we played that, and that's when it was hot, early '90s. Nothing since.
Les?
Bigger tournaments in the U.S. Like I think that would help.
Bigger tournaments in the U.S.?
I mean, we have
like
one
before the Grand
yeah,
Slams.
Like yeah,
we have
something.
Indian Wells. The hard court. So typically, the hard court season, which is what's coming up towards the end of summer after Wimbledon starts the hard court season. You do have I don't know about bigger and then the FedEx Cup at the end of the year.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You need. Who knows about those?
Right.
Like you hear about the Grand Slams, you hear about the U.S. Open, Wimbledon, French Open, Australian Open, but you don't have nothing else to look forward to. In 3 of those, you can't even watch. Normal people can't watch unless you're up at 4:00 in the morning.
Which you are.
Which I am. So
well, I think to piggyback off you, what I said actually was that there needs to be more television exposure for the mini tournaments, for the tournaments that happen in between the majors. Just more besides the tennis channel.
Publicize people more like Whitney. Show the amateurs.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, great job. That wraps up our tennis discussion for Confirmation Bias in 2017, and we'll see what happens next year. Before we get out of here, let's get to our hottest topic, which Rena is trying to send us a code,
trying
to get us out of here and say, let's go. And that's NBA free agency, Saturday, July 1st. At 12:01 a.m. and we all know that it's already started.
right. Yeah.
But that's officially when free agency begins. We've already had a big move, which we'll talk about, and that is CP3 getting traded to the Houston Rockets.
Hold on, can I name all the names he got traded for?
Go ahead and name all the names he got traded for.
Good luck.
This will be a trivia answer, by the way.
Sam Decker, Lou Williams, Patrick Beverly, Montrezl Harrell, Darren Hillard, DeAndre Liggins, and Kyle Whitcher.
Don't forget the pick.
Oh, in a 2018
Protected.
I
think top three protected pick.
Exactly. It's going to be 27, 28 like it was this year.
Right. The funny thing about that is before they completed this deal, the Houston Rockets bought about 7 or 8 spare contracts just to make this deal happen. Like they literally hit up every team links like, give us your alms for the poor.
We'll give you $1.5 million. Just send them over here.
What's your first reaction, Devin, to the deal?
Trash for both. I actually don't like it for either one. I don't think the Clippers got anything, and I think that Houston gets worse defensively, if that's imaginable.
Kev?
Yeah, I would think the only good thing is that James Harden isn't the predominant ball handler, which may not be a popular opinion, but I do think they need someone to take the pressure off of him. Devin alluded to, you sacrifice your defense and your depth, and you think that's going to get you over Golden State. I don't see it happening. But one thing I do think is interesting, you guys will hate me for it, but I don't care. The best point guard in Los Angeles right now
is Lonzo Ball.
Lonzo Ball.
Is Austin Rivers.
Not even close.
You full of shit, Kevin.
He ain't even touched the court yet. We don't know. He
You
could be.
full of
He
shit.
could be
Austin Rivers has touched the court.
Right.
And we know what he is.
Hey, I'm gonna say it right now. You mark my words. There is going to be a problem between CP3 and Mike D'Antoni.
Yes.
Listen here, okay? He was with Carmelo. They fell out. He was with Kobe. That didn't work well. Mike D'Antoni is the easygoing, all shucks type guy. The reason why I worked with James Harden, because James Harden is from LA, and he's chill and he's cool, and he was like, okay, you want to be point guard? I've been the point guard. I was the point guard at Arizona State. Chris Paul is not having any of this shit.
No, he's not.
And when it goes down,
it's going to go down. Because here's the thing. Aside from him always being touted as the best leader in the league, they are the two biggest guards that shrink in the biggest moments in this current NBA.
Shrinkage.
And to Kevin's point, they lose depth. Yeah. Harden was gassed at the end of
it's not
this
about
season.
to get better because they capped out.
Yeah.
And the main reason they got along, D'Antoni and Harden, is if defense was a religion, they both atheists.
All right, what are you most looking forward to as before we get out of here? Most looking forward to in free agency this weekend? Give me a big deal, a big move that's going to happen. Kevin?
I want to see where Gordon Hayward goes.
Mm-hmm. He's the first domino to fall?
Yeah. I want to see
maybe not, but
I want to see if Blake Griffin stays with the Clippers now that CP3 is gone.
Well, so here's the thing that's interesting about that. The reason why this whole CP3 deal happened is because he met with the Clippers Tuesday night, and he wanted that 5th year of that Supermax.
Yeah.
And the Clippers said no. And so then he said, well, go ahead and trade me. So if you're not willing to offer Chris the 5th year, which I could get if you want to make the age argument, but whatever the difference in age is between CP3 and Blake Griffin makes up for with injuries.
Yep.
So are they going to offer him the full max? And I think that's the thing that I'm watching out for as well.
He's talking to the Suns.
But that full max still isn't 205 though. And you wouldn't be paying Chris Paul $47 million at 38 years old.
But it's still a shit ton of money for a guy who's missed a lot of games.
Missed a lot of playoff games at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the most crucial time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's been another episode of Confirmation Bias. Again, we encourage you to follow us everywhere on social media at The League. She definitely shot me. They look like now. Follow us everywhere on social media at The League AM. Visit our website, theleagueam.com, our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. Sharing is Devin.
Liking is cool.
Thank you.
But sharing is caring.
We'll see you Tuesday.
See you Thursday, baby.
Thursday.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. 4th of July.
Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth is right. Thank you.